Welcome to 24 Astro. My name is Alva. I'm coming on here to do a short introduction because I just filmed a video on Pisces Moon, the long-awaited video on Pisces Moon that I wanted to do for so long because it's so important. But the video got deleted, so I only have the audio. But I'm going to upload the audio here anyway because I don't want it to get... I don't want to redo it because it was good. So if you want to listen to that, it's going to be in for the rest of the audio but without any picture. So I hope you enjoy. Welcome to 24 Astro. In today's video I'm going to talk about Pisces, and more specifically Pisces Moon. I'm going to talk about Pisces first as an archetype and what it means, and then I'm going to talk about the moon, what it means and how I view it, and then we're going to weave everything together, and I'm going to talk about the energetics of this placement so you can start to recognize and deal with this energy in yourself more efficiently. I've taken a lot of notes during these last few days because it's been on my mind a lot, and on my journey on trying to understand astrology, I watched so many YouTube videos on the different zodiac signs, and always when it comes to Pisces I felt like it was so loose. I never felt satisfied when I watched something, even though like I could watch something on the archetype of Pisces for an hour, someone claiming to be an expert, but I felt like no, it didn't resonate. I didn't feel it in my bones. And I've really tried to put the the very not linear in a linear form and try to communicate it as best as I can, because I do have a Pisces stellium. So I have Mercury in Pisces, I do have Venus in Pisces and Saturn in Pisces and the moon in Pisces. So, and all of them are in the 5th house. So it's energy that I'm very familiar with, and I really try to understand it and be able to translate it to you, because Pisces is so connected to the soul, and the language of the soul is in symbols, and astrology is in symbols. So I've tried to make it as clear as I can and translate it for you. And I'm feeling this perfectionism come up, but I'm going to embrace it and stay vulnerable and explain what I can, because I'm just a fellow traveler trying to understand and embrace life. And yeah, enough with the disclaimers. I'm going to do my thing now. And hopefully this helps you, and if it resonates, please let me know, because it gives life to my soul. So we're going to start to talk about Pisces when it comes to fantasy. And I want to include fantasy, and I have my notes here, so if I look down it's just to like collect the thoughts. So I'm going to put fantasy, the collective realm, energetics all in one category and start to talk about this. So fantasy, it's our ability to visualize something that is not seen before us. It's not something that is in the 3D world. So if we close our eyes and visualize something, this is something that exists not here. This is very obvious, but the ability to use fantasy to make things happen, to manifest something from an idea. We get the inspiration from our imagination, and then depending on our circumstances, our drive, we can manifest it into reality. And if we look at it this way, it can be considered magic. And this realm of fantasy, I see it as an unlimited, abundant pool of energy, of possibility. And this realm, I also see as also very connected to creativity. And more of this, if we bring the creative realm into this life, this is more like 5th house, lion, like Leo energy, the ego wanting to create and take from the abundance into this this realm. This is more fifth house Leo type of energy. When it comes to Pisces, this is like the merging with everything. So it's not like it can be a creative project. This can be the way onto this type of energy. But when it comes to Pisces, it's more like the collective consciousness, like everyone's psyche together, everyone's soul together, everyone's energy, like the spirit of the forest, the fire, like everything. You understand what I mean when I say everything, like the realm of all life, of universal intelligence. This is what Pisces represents to me. And this is where it becomes a bit muddled. I look at this now like I don't put the word God onto this at all, because I do have a Christian mother and like some religious trauma in my history, so the word God doesn't resonate for me. I see it more as the collective unconscious, and might be because I'm very drawn towards Carl Jung and his way of looking at life. But it also resonates. Like, I can imagine what this means. Every person in this planet, on this planet, their minds together, and I don't mean their personality, I mean everything, like their gifts, their shadows, their like guidance in life, their purpose, everything, what it entails, that it means everything of that person. That is one drop in the ocean, and then we have all of it together. That represents to me the collective unconscious. There's a impersonal power here, an impersonal energy. So that to me, I don't know if I'm gonna stick with the word collective unconscious. I don't know if that is the best word. Let's see where it goes. Okay, so Pisces energy is the collective, unconscious. It is everything, like all of life force, all of the universal intelligence. That is Pisces. And what that would mean is that it's this realm of possibilities, but do not make the trap here of identifying with that. It doesn't mean that you are this and everyone else is not that. It doesn't mean that at all. It just means that you're more sensitive to tapping into this type of realm. And why it's like this, I don't know. I'm not the one making the rules. We just have a sensitivity and an ability to be more empathetic to other people, to animals, to life. And on my quest of understanding this and embracing my sensitivity, I come from a past of like social anxiety, being very, very sensitive to my environment. I get so easily overwhelmed. And it's taken me a lot of time to embrace my introvertedness and love the side of me that really needs to charge my batteries. And really cherish the alone time and not feel shame about me being slower than what I perceive the average person is. So it's this coming to terms with your sensitivity and learning how to regulate. And that word didn't, for the longest time, it's like irked me and I didn't like it at all. But if you really, I think it's just about coming to a point where you realize there's no other way. We have to regulate. We have to learn to be our own inner parent, set boundaries, protect our energy, because no one will do it for you. You can't have a partner that does it for you. It's not sustainable in the long run, and that's a whole different thing. Especially for myself, I have North Node in the first house. So that would mean South Node in the 7th house. So I have the past like tendency of codependence, and codependence is also a thing with Pisces. So where I would make this a bit more relevant, because I like to mix different visions, ideas, and make my own Frankenstein with things. So I want to take in here a bit of modern science and use the word mirror neurons. and give that to you and see if it resonates. So mirror neurons are, or is our ability to see another person, visualize their perceived reality. So let's say it's someone that hits their toe or someone that falls. We have the ability, just by witnessing them, to live with our imagination, with our fantasy. It happens so quick that we don't even realize that we're doing it, but we picture ourselves in their situation and we feel what they feel. And this ability, this social complex thing that we do, also some apes also have this ability, but it's not super normal for animals to have this as evolved as we do, we humans. So everyone has this ability, but I think, and I this is something that I've reflected on, like, as of lately, that we have this very sensitive mirror neuron. We have this ability to go into other people's lives, put us in their shoes, and really experience it. Like, the boundaries of us and them become dissolved. And like, this could be, for example, you experiencing music. You lose track of yourself and you completely emerge with the songs. You get so easily touched by music. Or watching a movie and you get so easily emotional when you see something. Everyone has this ability, but we are just overwhelmed with this empathic skill. And we humans develop this in order to become more socially evolved, to learn to cooperate and live with other people. So it's this social intelligence, that's why we have this. But just having this term and realizing what happens in your brain when you're with other people and learning to manage this and not have it completely take over, and trying to learn to a bit like detach a bit, because it can mean that we get so consumed when we're with other people that we lose ourselves, and this is not very healthy. So for example, learning to detach when it comes to people that are very negative, and learning to leave their things with them and you are in your center, for example. So look into mirror neurons. I think I will, in the comments below, I will pin a comment with a link to mirror neurons that you can check out and try to understand this a bit more for yourself, and how this would maybe be beneficial to learn about and to try to experiment with. So empathy is actually a super good quality to have. It gives you an ability to be universal when you're with other people. But also it can make you care too much. You can be super involved, wanting to save people, give too much of yourself. And this is where codependency and even like reality escaping becomes a side effect, because you get so overwhelmed when you are with other people. So you really need to protect your own boundaries, really learn your own needs, so that you know that if I do this, I will get tired, because it's a lot of impressions from the day. Let's say you're having some event, and then you know that you will get drained emotionally. So then afterwards, learning to realize that afterwards I need to rest, for example. Don't watch a movie, don't watch reels on social media. It would mean to just take a pause and learn to be in silence. This is a very important one also for Pisces, because it's about, I would really say it's about learning how to balance your ability to tap into this collective universal intelligence, fill up the need of the soulfulness that you have a longing for, because it needs to come back to the source. Oh, there's so much to say here. So you need to learn to have a balance between your spiritual life and also being in silence by yourself, because no one else can really fill this void except you. So if you don't learn to balance between being in society, a very masculine, very high speed society, and being in passivity or receptive mode, and receiving from the universe, receiving energy, like loading up your batteries, learning to be in silence, really. And this is where meditation is very handy for someone with a Pisces moon, to learn to detach. And I will also, in the end of this, I will add on a audio clip that I feel like I channeled the other day about what it means to be in the energetics of a Pisces, of the Pisces archetype. And I think that one, like, it turned out really good. So I will add that on to the end of this, to give you a bit more of the energetic side of this. But so we are sensitive souls. We can feel too much, and it's important to close, or like make the boundaries between you and others very clear for yourself, so you learn when you are exceeding your limitations, because no one will put boundaries for you. Like, maybe your parents did that when you were a child, or maybe you didn't get taught that at all, because also the moon placement is very correlated to your relationship to your mother. And for me, for example, I have had a very codependent relationship with my mother. So I would invite you to check into that. Like, this nurturing energy of the moon is where you first have your relationship towards your feminine archetype, the mother archetype, and it can be correlated to your relationship to your mother. But I will talk about more what the moon placement means in how I view it. So learning this regulation thing, like learning to put boundaries, learning to nurture yourself first, and seeing where your needs end and where other people's begin. And this is very, like, I've heard this before, that people say, oh, I'm so sensitive, I absorb people's feelings, and but this is not like this. We don't notice that we do this. So it's a very tricky thing, because we can't just feel like in the end of the day that we are so drained, or we are so overwhelmed, and there's so much anxiety in our body. And that might be because you have so many interactions with people where you are emotionally trying to attune to them with your mirror neurons, your empathy, and trying to, I would say, people please, but that can be triggering for some, but trying to go into their world, try to attune to them, and be sensitive and like empathic, and trying to come to a middle understanding ground with other people, because we have that ability to put ourselves in their life, and that is very draining. So the people pleasing and the absorbing other people's emotions is not like this woo-woo thing that when we are in a lunchroom at the work, we just like are sitting there and we're a magnet for other people's emotions. It's not like that. It's not this weird thing. It's just like we're giving so much energy and fantasy for from ourselves when we talk to people. We really feel into the atmosphere, and you might be very like shy around people because you are so accustomed to being overstimulated, because you are a sensitive being. And of course this depends on your other, like maybe you have a Leo sun and then it's completely different, but I'm talking generally here. So it depends, of course, then. So let's talk about the moon in astrology and what it means, because most of us might have heard that the moon is our emotional needs, our inner landscape. And what does this mean? Like, it's easy to say that, but what does it mean? And that's what I want to talk about now. And we're going to talk about the symbolism, or not the symbolism, the function of the moon. The moon doesn't cast its own light, it just reflects the sun's. And this tells us a lot. So the sun is our conscious awareness. It's the conscious drive to be a whole person. This is where we have the ego consciousness. Like the understanding of what we are. The moon reflects the sun. So this means the moon is in the background and the sun is in the front. It's in the middle point of your solar system, your microcosm. The moon is your personal unconscious, which means it is your body. It's where the emotions are stored, it's where your memory is stored, it's what happened to you when you were a child, how you felt about your inner world. And this doesn't end when you're an adult, it's still there, and you will have this interaction between the conscious and unconscious all of your life. And the real task of someone's life is really, in my opinion, to integrate the unconscious into your consciousness and understand it and work with it better. So that would mean learning the shadow sides of, if you have Pisces Moon, learning the shadow sides of Pisces as an archetype is a great way to really elevate your existence, to get awareness, so your consciousness about this pattern, about the moon placement, to learn to take more responsibility, because the moon placement might be also where you self-sabotage. It's this how your emotional world experiences itself towards your outer environment, like how you feel. It might be the shadow sides of Pisces are a lot of like explaining a lot of your issues. Maybe you have a very big tendency of reality escaping. Maybe you are very codependent. Maybe you get super overwhelmed. Maybe you have like, you feel like the world outside is too much and you feel very sensitive and very scared and don't know really how to cope. This can be your experience. And learning then to grow up and learning to distinguish between the outer world and yourself, because it can be a bit muddled. And I always look at the zodiac wheel, like the placement, since Pisces is the 12th sign. I look at the sign before and after, because everything in astrology is about polarity and balance. So they all have lessons inside them. And both Aquarius and Aries, so Aries is the first one, so it comes after, both of them are signs about being an individual towards the collective. And the collective being this, what kind of like what Pisces represents in my eyes. So learning how to be your own individual is very important to balance out the Pisces moon. And this is where we need boundaries, we need regulation, and finding those, the sensitivity to our own sensitivity, I would say. Like learning our own language, our own needs. I also want to talk a bit about, I didn't plan this, but it comes to me now, and it's this thing with Pisces being associated to Jesus Christ. And I think for me, like words are a big deal. So what sticks to me when it comes to Christ is forgiveness. And forgiveness being something that is very important. And I would say, like like in the last part of this video, I will talk a bit about reverence in presence. That is like the energy of Pisces for me. But also forgiveness being also a very Piscean quality. Learning to forgive other people is a great way for having the ego stop to being entitled when it comes to interacting with other people. And if you want a crash course on the ego, I would suggest buying the book The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. That's a good way to really get consciousness when it comes to learning to understand what the ego is in yourself and getting awareness. So when the ego feels entitled or it feels like it's hurt by someone or something, learning to go towards forgiveness for people being humans, and people make mistakes, like learning that lesson, like the Christ forgiveness, is it's a great way to let the ego kind of dissolve, I would say. So if I would send you with something important for Pisces, I would say forgiveness, boundaries, and presence. And presence, like I mentioned, I will put in a clip in the end, but I also want to mention it a bit. And it's about presence being the gateway into letting go of the ego. Because when you are in presence, when you don't identify with something and think of the future, or like think about the past, if you're just here, the boundaries of you and other people, they disappear. And for Pisces, this ability comes naturally, but we need to have it more controlled and we need to practice it so we don't lose ourselves, because we need that Aries lesson and the Aquarius lesson of learning how to channel or direct the presence into a way that it's sustainable. So that could be learning to slow down and be more present in our life. Mindfulness would be something that is very highly recommended to be more present in your life. Slowing down, another thing that Pisces really thrives with, because it's this sensitivity that makes us very have super easy to get overwhelmed. And if we slow down our every day, like if we have a super stressful job and we don't know how to get down in tempo, so we're just having this internal speed all the time, it will make us like chronically stressed out. Like we will have this internal tempo that is very damaging for Pisces Moon, and that will make us reality escape, and the cycle just goes on. And this is something that I've dealt with a long time. Like my whole life path feels like it's been about getting consciousness about this pattern. And I like my reality escape was food and like Netflix or watching series or YouTube. And I've come a long way. I like astrology has been a huge help for me, and also spirituality and self-help has been so huge for me. And if you do, I just want to put this in here, that if you do have that same coping mechanism like I did, if you still use food for reality escaping and coping with your reality, I do have a YouTube channel where I talk about this more specifically towards food. And I will put a link down below to check that out if you do have this coping mechanism, because there is a way out of this and you don't have to have a difficult relationship to food. So the moon being your personal unconscious means then that it's the way your internal system works. It's very colored by your sensitivity towards the collective unconscious. That means that you need to slow down, know your boundaries, and be able to regulate yourself. This is really the way to make the shadow sides of the archetype of Pisces to come into its better side. The gift of Pisces is this ability to tap into unconditional love and empathy, and this is something very beautiful and what the world really needs. But we need to learn to go from the shadow onto the gift, and that is a journey on itself. But it's really about like having consciousness about the shadows, knowing your boundaries. I've laid out so many seeds, I think, depending on where you are at in your journey. Maybe it wasn't that many seeds, but if you are kind of like new to understanding this archetype, I've laid out so many seeds here. So maybe it's a good idea to watch this again, or let this land for a bit and take with you whatever resonated. So I will include the audio files here, but thank you for watching and I'll see you in the next video.
The energetics of Pisces as an archetype, to me, feels like presence. In the present moment, the contours of yourself and your surrounding is dissolved. You become the witness. You can watch a tree and not label anything. Not think too much of the tree, the details, but just witnessing it as presence is a very serene feeling. It's a very relaxing feeling. And that requires slowing down because you can't really absorb the experience if you are multitasking or if you're thinking about something else, or if you're even with other people, if they are talking to you, you can't really experience the tree. It is something that happens interiorly. So it is yours. It is your experience, your being's experience. It's not something that you can share. It's a very intimate thing. And that energetic experience is, to me, Pisces. The merging with your surrounding and other people. You can be present with others. You can look into their eyes. You can sit in silence and really be together. And you experience this oneness. You can even talk to people with presence. But as soon as you censor yourself or really think about what is allowed or what is okay to say, or if you really hinder the flow of things, if you do not trust what you're saying, then you create the separation from being present with that person. And even talking to someone, it is a small separation from being present. You're not witnessing anymore. You're doing something, you're producing something, you're translating something into your experience. So you're now not that passive. You're more active now. But even so, it is much more rewarding. If you have a lot of Pisces placement, or if you're a Pisces Moon, to be and try to be present with other people and not censoring, separating yourself as you're communicating. Even though it is a very thing you have to do with intent and you really have to work on this. But that energetic thing of merging, dissolving, not separating, is to me the energy of Pisces. Therefore, getting more familiar with how you experience presence, doing mindfulness, or just noticing when you are too much in separation and guiding yourself back with your consciousness would be very preferable for most people, of course, but I think for Pisces Moon, the energy of being in presence, and then after that, I feel like that is a very Pisces Moon thing, but even going beyond this would be gratitude for the present moment. Like you can have love in your heart when you're witnessing or watching nature. Being grateful for the beauty all around is very Piscean. And I feel like that energy of oneness is the Christ version of Pisces. If you can do that and practice on doing that, being present and then gratitude. If you practice on it, like practice daily, practice weekly, and force yourself if you have to, and eventually it will become easier and more natural. I think this energy is very attractive for a Pisces moon because it is natural, it comes organic. And if we're far from it because we haven't got taught how to do this, or whatever reason this feels alien to us, if we can redirect our focus to this, I think the moon will feel very at home in this energy. And even if you start to practice doing this, presence and then gratitude, presence, gratitude, and being touched, feeling love. If you do this with nature and you extend it to animals, to your family, to your friends, to other people, to strangers, this is the energy, the love of a Pisces moon.